Hi everybody, this is kind of the intro to our 4-H cross-stitch virtual project group for meeting 1, which was today, Friday, May the 22nd. I inadvertently did not start recording at the appropriate time, so I'm going to go back. That's why I'm recording the information that you missed at the beginning, so that way you'll all be caught up when we get ready for our meeting next week. So. My name is Dina Reed. I'm the 4-H agent in Meade County with the UK Cooperative Extension Service. So I'm so excited that you're joining this cross-stitch project group with us. This is a joint project group between Meade County and Breckinridge County. So Emily Pruneda is the 4-H program assistant in Breckinridge County, and she leads their needlework club. So she will be joining as well as 1 or 2 possibly Breckinridge County 4-H members in this cross-stitch adventure that we are about ready to go on. So the beginning part of this video, we're just going to review what you should have gotten in your kit. If for some reason you find a piece that's missing, just give me a call at 270-422-4958 and let me know that you're missing something. Or you can email me at dinaKreed@uky.edu. I forgot my email there for a second. And that is DEANA, the letter K, Reed, REED, at uky.edu. So you guys got your kits, hopefully. And what we're going to be doing with this project is a stamped cross-stitch project that is eligible for the fair. Okay. So you got your cover letter in your packet, and then you also received in your packet a page that looks like this, which is your county cross stitch color code, which we'll talk about that in just a second, because you have some homework for next week that goes along with this page. You also received, get everything in order here, a page that looks like this, which is the Kentucky 4-H Needlework Department descriptions and project requirements for fair, county fair and state fair project entries. And some things on here that I want to point out and make sure that you understand is that the copy of the pattern that you received in your project bag, you're going to need to hang on to that because you have to attach it to your project when you get ready to enter into the fair, because this particular pattern that we're using is not a Kentucky 4-H project pattern. So that little copy that you got of your pattern, which we'll look at here in just a second, you need to hang on to that. If for some reason you lose that paper or it gets wet or something like that, I can send you a new copy. Just let me know, okay? Of course, any item that you make for the fair has to be handmade by you, the 4-H member. And then the type of project that we're going to be working on is, if you look under hand embroidery within these pages, it's class number 818B, which that's the state fair class, so your county fair class numbers will be different. We are working on the stamped cross stitch, and later on in the video we talk about the difference between those two things. So you have that document in your packet. And then you have this packet that just gives you some basic information with the focus and the guides for needlework. This is the entire needlework. It's not just about cross stitch. So that will give you information about other 4-H projects with embroidery that you can work on. And then you should also have a copy of this handout, which is Beginning Creative Stitchery, which we'll talk about in depth here in just a little bit in the rest of this video. So that's all the paper, big papers that you should have received. Now the supplies in your kit, you should have received a good handful of floss, different colors, and we'll explain all those different colors in a second. You should have received some little cardboard floss bobbins. They look like this when you pop them out, but they came, I've already popped all mine out. They came in a little cardboard piece that looks like this. So if you fill these in, there's 4 on a sheet. So you should have received several of those. We'll talk about those later in the video. You should have received a little envelope like this. And inside that envelope, you got 2 2 embroidery needles. I know it's a little hard to see. We will talk about the needles specific a little bit later in the video. And then you should have received a styrofoam plate, which has nothing to do with this project. It was just to protect your items as we mailed those to you. Then you should have received a wooden embroidery hoop. This is a 6-inch standard embroidery hoop. And then you should have received a page that looks like this, which is our dragonfly pattern. And you should have received the fabric dragonfly. I know it's a little hard to see. It has a dragonfly pattern on the fabric. You should have received that. And then finally, you will have received your pattern for whatever animal. Like I got a frog, someone got a bear, someone got an elephant, someone got a monkey. So whatever animal pattern you received, those are just kind of random. This is going to tell us the pattern for the second piece of fabric you should have received, which should match. So here I got frog, so there's my frog pattern. Your stamped cross stitch fabric. So those are all the materials that came in the kit. If you find something that's missing, if you find that you're missing something, please, like I said, contact me and let me know so I can get that mailed to you. So what we're going to do with this project over the next 6 weeks or so is we're going to start with our dragonfly pattern, and we will start stitching on that next week. Some more details will be given on that throughout the rest of this video. So hopefully I have caught us up to where the point where we started recording in the original video. So once we finish with this little section, the next little section should feed right into where we picked up. One thing that you need to have on hand before you finish watching the rest of this video, you do need a pen or a pencil. You need a pair of scissors, and you need some sort of tape. So I have painting tape. You can use masking tape. Painting or masking tape is preferred because we're going to put it on our fabric, and then later on it will pull off easily and not ruin our fabric. But if you only have shipping tape or duct tape or something like that, that will work just fine. You just need to make sure you pay attention to our conversation as we go throughout the video about how to do your tape. So you do not have to have special sewing scissors. These are just desktop scissors that I have. But since I sew, and with my sewing machine, I do have some thread scissors, little snipping scissors. So if you have these, those would be handy. If not, desktop scissors will be just fine. So that is everything that came in the kit. And I hope that you enjoy this project, and we will see you next Friday at 1 o'clock for session 2 of our 4-H cross stitch virtual project group. Have a great week. All right, so we have reviewed all the materials you should have had in your kit, and then you guys have checked to make sure that you have all of your floss according to our color chart, okay?
I don't have the 954 one.
Okay, for the blanket?
Yes.
954. Okay, I'll make a note so I can send it to you. Luckily, we're not starting on that project first, so that'll give me time to get it to you. So Riley needs 954. What color is that, Riley?
I am not sure.
Okay. Well, you would know because you don't have it. Duh. 954. It's kind of like it looks like it's a minty green. Emily, do you have that one? It's minty green on your end? Okay.
I have myself muted. It's this one right here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Riley, I made a note. I'll get that.
Yeah, I have a really dark green. Like it's really, really dark.
And I may have subbed it in, but I'll send you the minty green one so that all of our blocks are the same. Okay.
Okay.
So you got bonus floss there. All right, so that's your color chart, and we have all of your colors, and then you'll notice you have a few extra colors. How many extra colors do you have?
I think I have 5. I might be wrong.
Should have 2 or 3.
Oh, this is not.
Oh. Doesn't.
Okay. So those extra colors are for you to use on the dragonfly pattern. You're going to kind of get to pick and choose your colors for those. Okay. So you have your blanket colors, you have your animal colors. You can put those away because we are not going to use those today. We will get to those at a later time. So those can go by the wayside for now. Okay. Emily, is that your pet?
I'm sorry. That's why I had myself muted.
Oh, no, I love it. I don't mind. I don't mind.
He's in the kennel.
I guess Addie's not coming back. Bless her heart. Okay. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and show you guys some more documents.
I'm going to go let him out real quick.
Okay. All right. So Riley, hopefully you can see the beginning creative stitchery document.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the project that we're going to be doing, so entering a 4-H project, or doing a 4-H project, there are specific things that have to be done in order for that to be a true 4-H project. So cross stitch is part of the needlework department. So there's some things I wanted to point out. You should have a copy of this needlework, the rules in your packet as well. Okay. So I wanted to point out right here that the items have to be handmade, which they will be by the time we finish with this project. And then also here, a copy of the pattern must be submitted with the exhibit. So some of our projects are 4-H specific patterns, but this one is not. So that's why you have the small pattern to use for your dragonfly and for your animal, because those will need to be attached to your project when you enter them at the fair. So
Okay.
if you happen to misplace those or write on them or something, I have extra copies. So next we are doing, so there's different categories. So there's like crochet, but we are doing hand embroidery. And we are doing specifically the stamped cross stitch. So Riley, have you done cross stitch before?
No.
You have not. Okay. Have you done any type of hand embroidery?
The only thing I've done really is crochet, and that was a while back ago, and I do sew.
Okay. Okay. No, that's good. That's good. So you're learning from scratch. So we'll talk about stamped cross stitch versus counted cross stitch in just a minute. But the projects that we're doing are stamped cross stitch, and they do have to have a specific size. So you'll notice here it says all embroidery projects have to be a finished item. So for example, it can't just be this piece of fabric with the stitches on it. We have to take that and turn it into something else. So once we are able to get back together and have meetings, we hopefully will be able to do that before county fair. So once we get this stitching done, then we can all come together and sew or create, put this on something else to make it a complete finished project. Okay.
Are you guys still having county fair?
As of right now, I think they're going to make a decision like June the 10th or something.
I didn't know. We already canceled ours, so.
Well, our fair's not till the end of July, the last week.
Oh,
So there's a lot of time to make a decision, I guess. So.
sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. So, so a stamped cross stitch is a cross stitch design that has been stamped, either printed or drawn on plain woven fabric. And for it to be a true 4-H project, it has to have an equivalent of 5 by 7 inches of hand embroidery. So, which our dragonfly fits that size requirement. Okay.
Okay.
So we are good as far as that is concerned. The difference between stamped cross stitch and counted cross stitch, Riley. So the two patterns that you have, the pattern is stamped on there. It's inked.
Yeah.
It's very important that you do not get this fabric wet, because if you get that fabric wet, then that blue ink will disappear.
Okay.
Most of the time when you do, when you're doing counted cross stitch, it will tell you to wash your fabric because you can do counted cross stitch on any type of fabric. Oh, there's Addie. She's coming back. Let's see if she made it back. Hi, Dana.
Okay, come over here.
Dana, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay, good. Hi,
Yeah.
Addie. We missed you.
Okay. Are you all already finished?
Oh, no.
Okay.
We're just getting started. So.
Okay. All right.
I'm recording this so she can go back and watch the beginning of what she missed.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, here she comes.
Okay. Hi. All right. So Addie, what we're doing now, we've gone over our equipment. We've kind of looked through our floss. I'll walk you through those steps again in just a second.
Okay.
And we're just going through the paperwork that came in your packet. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you should be able to see on your screen the class description where it says stamped cross stitch. Can you see that? Can you see where I'm highlighting blue?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's the type of cross stitch project that we are doing versus a counted cross stitch, which uses a different type of cloth called Ada cloth. And I'm going to show you guys a picture of that. So let me stop sharing this and go back and share. All right, can you guys see pictures?
No. Now I can.
It might give it a second. It has to lag a little bit. Okay, so obviously this type of cloth is different than what came in your kit. So Ada cloth, which is spelled A-I-D-A, is what you use for counted cross stitch. Now, what do you see different about this fabric than the fabric that came in your kit?
That one has more holes.
It does have more holes. More easily visible holes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're kind of like crossing over each other.
They are. They're called. That's woven. So, if you look at your fabric really close, you'll notice that it is woven as well. It's woven tighter. Okay. So, stamped cross stitch, printed on fabric where the threads are woven very tightly, like what you have. Ada cloth is still woven, but not quite as tightly. And you will notice, let's see if you look at this one here, little squares are perfect. That is what you use when you do counted cross stitch. Okay, so you'll notice on our cloth, the X's are there already, they're printed for you, and that is to emulate these perfect little squares on an Ada cloth, irregardless of my ability to not draw straight. Okay. So, yes.
I found the tealish green. I found it. It was in the bag.
Oh, you did. Oh, you did. Okay, good. Okay. So when you were using, oops, scratch out my note here. When you're using Ada cloth, and I don't know how to take those lines off. So let's say we will, here. So when you're doing counted cross stitch, your X's are gonna go like this. And they're gonna connect. Whoops, well, a little bit straighter like that. Okay, do you guys see that?
Yes.
I'm not the best straight drawer with a mouse here, okay? So those X's are gonna create your pattern, like what is on the cloth that we have, okay?
Okay.
So, go back to another share screen here. Where'd it go? There we go. So okay, can you guys see the beginning Creative Stitchery publication now?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. Addie, can you see that?
Yes.
Your head, okay. So you guys have this handout, and let me get mine out. We're not going to go through this whole packet together. You guys can read, but I wanted to share some specifics with you out of this paperwork. So how long do you think Creative Stitchery has been around? How long have people been using creative stitches?
Like hundreds of years.
Hundreds of thousands of years, yes. So in this beginning Creative Stitchery, the first little, the introductory section gives you some information on the history of Creative Stitchery, okay? So one thing I wanted to point out to you was down here, embroidery is as old as the needle, and the needle is as old as man's earliest civilizations. So man first used bone and bronze back in Egyptian times, 5000 BC, to create needles so that they could sew and do embroidery. So that is a long, long time ago. Another thing I wanted to point out is that embroidery, actually, you guys can look here. Embroidering with silk started in China. And there's a little story that goes along with that. But silk threads from a cocoon, from a silk moth, is what gave them the thread in China to start the embroidery that they do. Okay? So then the next page goes on to talk about different types of embroidery. And all of these are covered in 4-H projects, but the one that we are going to do is cross-stitch embroidery, which is right here, because we are going to be using X's on the design of our pattern. That's why it is cross-stitch, okay? So that includes stamped, which is what we're going to do, and then counted or charted designs. So even though our dragonfly pattern is a stamped cross stitch, it could be charted also because there's a pattern that comes along with it with specific colors. But I'm kind of giving you guys free rein on colors, okay? Here on fabric, so this kind of gives you a heads up on the type of materials that you need. So your fabric we've talked about. So what we have is just a really tightly woven fabric versus the Aida cloth. And then the next little section talks about threads. So threads, what we are going to be doing is using stranded floss, okay? And this is the most commonly used type of thread for embroidery. And the floss, once we get it out here in just a second, you'll notice has actually 6 strands of thread in one piece of floss. And that'll make sense in just a second, okay? Needles. They're all different types of needles. Typically, embroidery floss needles are much more pointed because they do have to poke through that woven fabric. So if you pull your needles out, which were in this little packet, Addie, you should have gotten 2 needles. And you'll notice on one end, they're very, very pointy, which means they're very sharp. And then the other end, I don't know if you guys can see that, it's a little hard. The other end is called the eye of the needle, and that's where the floss goes. Now, this is not a normal needle because I got you all easy thread needles. So if you notice on the eye end of your needle, there's a little V shape. Can you guys see that? It's really tiny. Can you guys see it on your needles? Instead of your needle being rounded, it's got a little V shape at the top. Everybody see it? Yes, no? I'm losing my mind? Okay. So that needle with the V shape is an easy threading needle. So that means you do not have to struggle to push your thread through the hole, through the eye of the needle. You can slide it through the top in that V and it'll easily thread your needle. So that's going to save you a little bit of time. So have you guys threaded needles before? Addie said yes.
Yes.
Okay. So It's always a struggle. Here, I'll just use my scissors to get that thread into the eye of the needle like that normally. So this way, since our needles have a V shape, you're just going to take your thread and slide it down in there, and it's going to catch and hopefully hold that thread in there. So that'll make it a little bit easier for us. Okay. Then you can read more about needles. Your hoops. Addie, you should have gotten one of these in your kit. Good deal. This is just an average 6-inch hoop. You'll notice at the top, there's a screw. You loosen that screw, and then your hoop comes into 2 parts. And I'm going to show you how to load your fabric into that hoop in just a little bit, okay? Addie, one thing that you did miss was in this publication, they'll talk about washing your fabric. Do not wash the fabric I sent you, okay?
Okay.
If you wash the fabric, all of this blue ink will wash off, okay? So for stamped cross stitch, you do not wash your fabric ahead of time. So you'll notice when it's talking about hoops, it says to always loosen the tension of the hoop when you stop to work on your project. And the reason for that is if you leave this hoop really, really tight, it's going to create a crease on your fabric. So if you guys ever folded a t-shirt and left it folded very, very long time, and when you went to unfold it, you could see the folded creases in it, so it made your shirt look kind of wrinkly. You don't want that. So today, after we put our fabric in our hoops, we're going to tighten it down to show you how to get that tension on there. But one more time, we're going to loosen it so that it doesn't create that crease. Okay? Scissors. You do not have to have special scissors to do cross stitch. So you can just regular desktop scissors. I just happen to have some thread scissors that I use when I sew. So they're kind of pointy and they can get really down in there, but you do not have to have special scissors. So either pair will work just fine, okay? Thimble, I did not provide you guys with a thimble. If you want a thimble, you can go purchase one, but that is something that you just slide onto your finger when you are doing your embroidery. Protect your finger from that pointy needle, okay? The last thing you want to do is poke your finger. One, it will hurt yourself, and 2, you could bleed on your project, and you don't want to bleed on your project. Okay? Preparing your fabric. So it says here that everything needs to be pre-washed. And for counted or stamped cross stitch, we don't wash our fabric ahead of time. One thing that we are going to do, were you guys able to find some masking tape or painter's tape? Yes, Riley?
I don't have either of those. I have like tape though.
Like Scotch tape?
Let me see.
Or shipping tape? Do you have like really big shipping tape? That could work too.
I don't even know what happened to it now. Oh, here it is. It's duck mask strength packaging tape.
Okay, we can work with that. You'll just have to be real careful putting it on your fabric. That's okay.
Okay.
We'll work with that. Okay. So what we're gonna do, so on your fabric, your fabric has an unfinished edge. And you'll notice here, is your fabric kind of starting to thread off a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why we're gonna tape the edges here in just a little bit to keep that fabric from fraying. Okay, so we've got little stringies. So we'll do that in just a second. It's best to use tape that you can pull off because we are going to have to take this and turn it into an actual project. But Riley, we'll work with your duct tape, okay?
Okay.
Transferring the design, we're not doing that because our design is already printed for us. Threading the needle, we'll go over in just a second. We'll do that together. Cleaning and pressing, again, you're not going to get this fabric wet and you're not going to press any of it, press like with an iron, because water and heat will make our pattern disappear. So we don't want to do that until we're completely done with all of our stitches, okay? The stitches that we are going to use for the dragonfly, we're going to use in our pattern. Can you guys pull out your dragonfly pattern? And at the very top of that pattern, it tells us that we're going to use the back stitch, we're going to use French knots, and we're going to use cross stitch. But we're going to start with cross stitch, okay?
Okay.
You see all those little X's, we have to cover those up first. So we'll do cross stitch first, then we'll go back and we'll do our back stitch and do our French knots last. So this little section will kind of talk you through. So if you notice there, it shows you how to do a back stitch. And we'll eventually get to that, okay? And then let's see, there's all kinds of stitches in here. And then a French knot, we will be doing the French knot very last, okay? All right, any questions about stitches? Oops. I'm gonna close. I'm trying to close out some things. Close that. All right. So I'm going to adjust my camera real quick to my workspace here so you guys can see what I'm doing, okay? The first thing that we're going to do is tape our fabric, okay? We're going to tape our rough edges. So you're going to need a flat working space. And, oh, there we go. I kind of have to work backwards here, okay? So we're going to start with our dragonfly fabric. Can you guys see this? I feel like I've got it up too close or far enough or what, okay? All right, can you guys see my fabric on the table?
Yes.
Okay. So basically what we're going to do, now Riley, with your duct tape, you are not going to want to stick your tape very far into the pattern. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you guys are going to take your tape and tear it to where it's not much longer than the length of your fabric, okay? And so your tape, what we're going to do is we're going to stick it on and then we're going to fold it. So when you put your tape on your fabric, you're only going to put half. Okay, so you're going to put half on. Riley, in your case, a little bit less than half. Everybody see how I did that? So it's taped to the table now. See that? And it's only sticking off my edges just a little bit. Everybody see that? And then once you've got it on there, you're going to flip your fabric over and then you're just going to fold the other half of that tape up onto the back side of your pattern. Everybody see how I did that? So now my tape is stuck to itself on both sides of my fabric. Everybody see how to do that? And then you're going to take your scissors and just cut that extra tape off each end. So you have some little tape nubbins. And you're going to do that on all four sides of your fabric. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Everybody understand what to do? Any questions? Okay. bought a different webcam, so next week I won't have to use my laptop webcam, so it'll be, you can see a little bit better next week, hopefully. Addie, you gonna remember all these steps to teach your mom? Everybody doing okay? So Addie, while you're typing, I'm gonna talk you through sorting through your floss, okay? Can you listen and tape at the same time? Yeah, okay. So in your paperwork, you have a paper that looks like this. You have a little color chart. You have that in your paper. This color chart tells you all the different colors that you should have. So which animal pattern, let me unmute you real quick. Which animal did you get for your, you got your dragonfly and then you got another animal. What was your other animal?
I think it was.
I didn't keep track of who got what.
I think it was a teddy. It's a teddy bear.
Okay, you got the teddy bear? Okay, so what you just picked up is the pattern for your teddy bear. That's the project we're gonna work on second.
Okay.
I need you to figure out what floss you have for your dragonfly. So you're gonna use this. And if you look at, what'd you tell me you had? The bear, right? The bear.
Yeah.
Okay, so on your paper, you're gonna find the column that says bear. Do you see that?
Yep.
Okay. So there's the column that says bear, and then to the left of that, there's a column that says original color. You see that?
Yep.
Okay. That original color column tells you the color of floss. Okay, so if you look at your skein of floss, here's your floss. It has a label. And then the floss has that number. So like this floss is number 3053. Okay, do you see that on your floss? You might not have 3053. You might have a different color.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So in the original color column, it gives you all these different numbers, and each of those numbers represents a color of floss. So for bear, let's go back to your bear column.
Okay.
Bear, you have an X in 433. So look through your floss and find color 433.
Found it.
Okay, so put that one to the side because that's for your bear project. Also have color, so the next color says 434 on your chart. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that color's in red, numbers in red. That's because originally that color was supposed to be 435. Do you see that?
So the number 435?
Yeah, you were supposed to get number 435, but I didn't have that color, so I sent you color 434. So can you get 434? It's probably a
Yeah.
tan. Okay, so go through your bare column really quick and find the other 3 colors that go with it. Make sure you have all your floss. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our fabric, our printed fabric. That's a little hard to see, but you guys know which side is printed and which side is not, okay? Mostly because it should have words at the top, which will help you. So we're going to take our hoop and we're going to unscrew it and separate our hoop into 2 pieces, okay?
Okay.
You have your hoops. You have one solid hoop. Everybody see that? And then you have a hoop that has the screw on it. The hoop that does not have the screw on it, so when we start actually stitching next week, we're not going to start stitching today, we're going to start next week. We're going to start with the dragonfly in the middle, okay? So what you're going to do is your hoop that does not have the screw on it, that goes on the table or your workspace, and then you're going to lay your dragonfly. Your dragonfly is not going to completely fit inside this hoop, okay? But we're going to lay our fabric on our hoop so that the left of the dragonfly are kind of in the center of the hoop. Can everybody do that? You're just going to lay it on top. Got that?
So you said the left side of the dragonfly?
Yeah, the left wings, yes. Okay, then you're going to take your hoop that has the screw, kind of make sure it's loose. And depending on if you're right-handed or if you're left-handed, that's the side you can position the screw on, whatever's comfortable for you. So you got your whole hoop, your fabric. You're going to take this hoop and you're going to lay it on the fabric like this. And then you're going to down so it catches the fabric in between the 2 hoops. You guys see that? And when you put it on there, you want to make sure that your fabric is nice and smooth and tight, okay? You may have to practice a couple times. And then once you get your fabric to the tension that you want it, you're going to tighten down your screw. And that will keep your fabric from moving while you're stitching, okay? So you almost want it to be like a drum head. Can you guys see that? And if you need to, you can flip it over and pull the fabric up like this all the way around your hoop to tighten it up a little bit more. Man, I hope you guys are getting this. This would be so much easier if we were sitting at the same table. Okay? But you want to make sure that that screw is nice and tight. And you want a drum sound. Okay? Everybody get that? Oh, I hear a drum. Who's that?
Me.
Okay. So that is how you put on your hoop. Okay. Now, when we start stitching next week, we're going to start in this part, on this part of our pattern, because it's already in the center of our hoop. Okay. But what did our publication say about our hoop and our fabric? Do you remember? If we're not working on our project, what should we do with the hoop?
Loosen it.
Loosen it. Or you can even completely take it off. Okay. So since we're not going to stitch today, just go ahead and completely take off your hoop. You don't get that fabric crease. And Addie's like, man, I just got it on there. Now you're making me take it off again. Okay. And when you take your hoop off, you'll notice it already has a crease on it. See, you can see my crease. Does yours have a crease? We don't want that. So you can put your hoop back together. I do have some 4-H homework for you between now and our meeting next Friday, okay? So you can practice that on this fabric. You can practice it on other fabric. It'd be really interesting to try putting this on different types of fabric to see how you would have to adjust the tension of your hoop to go with the fabric that you have, okay? So we started with our raw fabric. We've taped our edges so that it doesn't fray. We've learned how to put on a hoop. And so now we need to learn how to care for our floss. So in your kit, you also had some of these little things. So pull those out. All right, so these are embroidery floss spools, like a spool of thread. So we're gonna make our own spools of thread, okay? So do you have a pen or a pencil nearby? I think I have one somewhere. I don't remember where I put it. Oh, there it is. Okay. So in these little cardboard pieces, these pop out. And this is going to be your homework between now and next Friday, okay? So you have your floss, and then it has this little, or not your floss, this little spool. And the little hole pops out. See that? And then down here at the bottom, there's two little slits, okay? So I want you to just pick one of your floss colors. It doesn't matter which one, any of them. Okay, so again, on your embroidery floss, you have a label. Can you guys see that? It's kind of, I'm trying to not make it glare. There we go. And so this particular color for this particular company, whoever made this floss, their name's not on the label. This particular color, they call color number 3053. So on my spool, up here in the top right-hand corner, it'll say, you see where it says no, that means number. So you're gonna write your number of this floss up in that top corner, okay? So do that for whichever one you picked out. Okay. All right, so the floss that you're working with, that number should match this bobbin. Everybody good to go on that? Okay. So now what you're gonna do is slide off. You may have to tear it. I think this one I'm gonna have to tear. I don't think it's gonna slide very easily. Nope. You're gonna take that paper off. And you've already written the number down, so you don't have to keep this little piece of paper. So ripping it is fine if that's what you end up having to do. And now you have your skein of floss. Okay, this is called a skein of floss. And if you'll notice, you can grab it like this and it makes a loop. And you should be able to find both ends of your floss. Everybody see that? So we're gonna work with one end of our floss, and very quickly, since we've got our floss here, I'm gonna show you. So earlier when it talked about our thread, it talked about six strands of thread. So this is one piece of floss. If you untwist it a little bit, you will see that you have 6 individual pieces of thread twisted together to make your floss. Can you guys see that on one of your skeins? So when we start to do our stitching next week, we're gonna learn how to cut our floss to a workable piece and then how to separate our threads with the number of pieces that we need to work with, okay? But now we need to get our floss organized. So we're gonna take our paper bobbin and your floss, and you kind of have to figure out what works best for you, but I kind of like to start in the middle, just kind of hold my floss in the middle and then slip it through one of those cuts. Everybody see how I did that? So it holds your floss tight so it won't fall off, okay? And then what you're going to do is just wind your floss around this bobbin till it looks like a bobbin of thread like you would sew with on a sewing machine. Being careful to not get it all knotted up. Okay, so we're just gonna wrap and keep doing that until we get the whole skein of floss on our bobbin. And sometimes you do get little thread boogers. So you have to stop and get the little knots out. Are you guys patient? Do you have a lot of patience? Riley, do you have a lot of patience?
It depends on what it's for.
Okay. Ooh, I've made a really good knot booger here.
I did mine when I was winding them, Dina. Mine got
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, there you go. See, Emily is, you guys can see Emily's finished. Wow, I really made a mess of this.
Me too.
It's easier now if you knot it up and not pull it as tight when it's longer, because then you can kind of pull everything apart.
Yes. Or you could have somebody sit and hold the loop for you with their fingers like this.
Yeah.
Make my husband do that later. He's sitting in the other room, probably shaking his head no. All right. If we get all the knots out of the way now, maybe we won't have so many later on when we're actually stitching. Maybe, huh? All right, are you guys close to the end?
Bobbins help a lot with not getting knotted up. They're very
How you
helpful.
doing?
I got a knot.
You got a knot? All right. Riley, what about you, ma'am?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
There's a tiny knot left.
So when you guys get to the end, so on your bobbin, you had 2 slits, right? So the one slit we used to start, the other one you used to hold your thread, your floss, so that your bobbin doesn't come unraveled while it's in storage, while you're not using it. Okay? All right, guys. So I know we got to start a little bit late, but we've kind of gone overtime a little bit. Do you guys have any questions about what we're going to be doing? I'm going to move my camera back here.
Do we need this thread, or do you think we can have another one? Yeah. Like full?
And if you should have enough little bobbins to do all your thread, I think. If for some reason you don't, let me know and I'll get you more and I'll send them to you, okay?
Do you want us to finish threading these after the video chat?
Yes, so that is your homework for the week. Next week we will start stitching. We'll learn how to do a cross stitch. Like I said, hopefully my video camera will, or webcam will be in. So I want you to finish doing your thread maintenance and getting everything on a bobbin like it needs to be. And then that way we'll be ready and set to go for next week, okay?
Okay.
All right. Addie, you have any questions?
Nope.
Nope. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
I'll see you next Friday, okay? Thanks, Emily, for being on, and hopefully our rest of our friends will be on next week.